Welcome to Tip Series. Today's topic is 20 informative practical points in overactive bladder. Overactive bladder is one of the most common problems encountered by pediatricians in day-to-day practice. As per the International Children's Continence Society, overactive bladder is urinary urgency usually accompanied by frequency and nocturia with or without urinary continence in the absence of urinary tract infection or other obvious pathology, and it is the most common wiring dysfunction in children. The cardinal symptom of overactive bladder is urgency, which is defined as a sudden compelling desire to void that is often difficult to defer. This urgency must be differentiated from the urge to void, which is a normal sensation experienced by all individuals, and it may be intense when urine is held for a prolonged period. The symptoms of overactive bladder are believed to be due to detrusor overactivity during the filling phase, which causes urgency. These detrusor contractions are countered by voluntary contraction of the pelvic floor muscles in an attempt to postpone voiding and to minimize sweating. The most common anatomic abnormality associated with overactive bladder is posterior urethral valves. 24% of males with this condition have overactive bladder. And in addition, inflammatory processes in the bladder wall like UTI may irritate receptors in the submucosa and detrusor muscle layers, and it may lead to overactive bladder symptoms. Enuresis, constipation, fecal incontinence, urinary tract infection, and delayed onset toilet training were considered risk factors for overactive bladder. Differential diagnoses are: one is dysfunctional voiding and second is voiding postponement. Dysfunctional voiding refers to an inability to relax the urinary sphincter or pelvic floor muscles fully during voiding. Unlike people with detrusor sphincter dyssynergia, people with dysfunctional voiding do not have an underlying neurologic abnormality. Children with dysfunctional voiding typically present with history of urinary incontinence, recurrent urinary tract infections, and constipation. Voiding postponement. The term voiding postponement is a new classification of voiding dysfunction. In this condition, children postpone urination until overwhelmed by urgency. Urgency forces them to rush to the toilet, and leakage often occurs along the way. Post-void residual volume study. Post-void residual volume determination is useful in ruling out dysfunctional voiding as a source of symptoms. In children, except in small infants, the bladder completely empties during each maturation. An increased post-void residual volume may be secondary to dysfunctional voiding. If the post-void residual volume is increased initially, the study should be repeated because the results may not be accurate in an anxious child. So this is the differential diagnosis. With overactive bladder, the frequency will be more than 7 per day. The other presenting features are urgency, incontinence, holding maneuvers. The post-void residual volume is usually less than 20 ml. With the dysfunctional voiding, the common features are recurrent UTI and incontinence. Here usually the post-void residual volume will be more than 20 ml. With voiding postponement, the frequency of urination is less than 5 per day. Here also the child presents with urgency, incontinence and holding maneuvers. Here the post-void residual volume will be varying. So initial management of overactive bladder involves a behavioral and cognitive approach. The child and the caregiver must be educated on normal bladder and sphincter function. Dietary changes are helpful in some children, particularly those who drink caffeinated or acidic fluids and those with increased fluid intake. Behavioral therapy Voiding regimens are instituted in all children with overactive bladder. Voiding is recommended every 2 to 3 hours while the child is awake. This often requires assistance from the teachers to ensure that the child is complying with a voiding regimen at school. Double voiding regimen. In children who do not empty their bladder completely, the practitioner should institute a double voiding regimen whereby the child voids and then waits a minute or two and tries to void again to improve bladder emptying. Constipation, if present, must be treated. Studies demonstrate the improvement in overactive bladder symptoms simply by treating constipation if present even without overactive bladder therapy. Urinary tract infection should be treated and depending on the child's age and whether the UTIs have been febrile or non-febrile, investigated further with renal ultrasound and voiding cystourethropy. Pharmacology treatment is indicated if behavioral therapy fails or symptoms are severe. Anticholinergic agents are often used in children with overactive bladder when behavioral therapy has failed or it is used as an adjunct to behavioral therapy. The most commonly used anticholinergics in children are oxybutynin and tolterodine. Oxybutynin inhibits the action of acetylcholine on smooth muscle and it has a direct antispasmodic effect on smooth muscles, thereby it increases bladder capacity and decreases uninhibited contractions. Oxybutynin currently the most commonly used anticholinergic and the formulation is extended release oxybutynin. This agent is a once a day formulation that is approved for use in children who can swallow a pill and who meet the drug's age requirements. Oxybutynin. Immediate release oxybutynin tablets are approved for children aged 5 years and older, and extended release oxybutynin tablets are approved for children aged 6 years and older since it must be ingested whole. No other antimuscarinics have been FDA approved for use in children under 18 years of age, and no antimuscarinic drugs have been approved for children under 5 years of age. Historically, oxybutynin use has been limited by side effects, most notably dry mouth and constipation. In addition, the need for dosing 2 to 3 times daily may affect compliance. The extended release preparation decreases such side effects. Extended release oxybutynin is delivered via the osmotic release oral system, so the tablet cannot be crushed, cracked, or chewed, and it must be swallowed whole. The recommended initial starting dose of extended release oxybutynin in children aged 6 years or older is 5 mg per day. The dosage may be increased in 5 mg increments up to a maximum of 20 mg per day to achieve a balance of efficacy and tolerability. Thank you.